Listen, come here, sit down with me. It's time we have a very uncomfortable conversation about the red-haired emperor himself, Shanks. After the latest One Piece chapter, we finally have proof this man was chilling in Mary Geoise.
そうだな。あと2、3回後悔したら、この村を離れてずっと北へ向かおうと思ってる。あと2、3回か。
Stepping over slaves, I swear I even saw him grabbing sake with Charlos at the Holy Land Tavern. And the craziest part, we've known Shanks for what, 25 years now, and we still know less about him than those old aunties who swear they remember you when you were this big. So today, let's actually break it down. Everything we know about Shanks and everything we don't know, and how it might connect him to the God's Knights and his true role in the story of One Piece. So let us rapid fire everything we know about Shanks.
I think we're ready to go for it. The One Piece.
Shanks and his slightly older twin brother Shamrock were born to Saint Firgarland Garling in the year 1485, the same year in which the Roger pirates had originally entered Lodestar. A year after that, Shanks would mysteriously be found in a chest by the Roger pirates after the God Valley incident. Now this specifically is quite interesting, as we know that the chests themselves were prizes. But who put Shanks in the chest? Well, to me, it was none other than Firgarland Garling himself. Whether that be because he was so cocky in his abilities he expected to win, and did that as a display of confidence, or the more nefarious answer, Firgarland was a ladies' man, and while having 2 kids, it's hard to be so suave. You know what they say, 1's a quirk, 2's a commitment. Something like that. Over the next 10 years, Shanks and his new bestie Buggy would travel alongside the seas as apprentices of the Roger pirates. At the end of this decade, Roger would receive word of his terminal illness and decide to enter the Grand Line once again. From the years 1496 to 1498, the main events of the Odin Roger flashback would occur. Not much would happen for Shanks' character within this time, aside from 2 main themes. We got their first encounter with Blackbeard and the chilling and suspicious detail that he never sleeps. Perhaps this detail Shanks kept with him and why he's so honed in on Blackbeard. Then, on a significantly lighter note, we got Shanks and Buggy arguing about which pool is colder. Shanks was right, by the way, I'm just saying. Anyway, as we know, this story would ultimately culminate in Goldie Roger laughing and claiming the island which holds the legendary One Piece as Laugh Tale. Though that's not what I want to focus on. At the start of chapter 968, after returning to meet Buggy and Shanks would go up to Roger and ask him a question, with both the question and answer being left ambiguous. All we know is that Shanks immediately broke down upon Roger's response. Did Shanks ask Roger about his fate? If he could obtain the One Piece? Whether his father had a little bit of swag? No, Shanks, not a single bit. That answer would put me in tears too, seeing my father looking like a banana brother. Oof. In the year 1500, Shanks along with a plethora of other characters would witness Roger's execution, an oddly high amount of cross-scale might I add. Later that day, Shanks and Buggy would have an argument in which Shanks reveals that he is not currently ready to go for the One Piece. And I don't know if it's just me, but rereading this scene after 1152 hit a little different. I was literally his day one dude. His dream was just to chill with his buddy, but he had to give it up for a mysterious reason. Anyway, this leads me to believe that Roger's response was something along the lines of telling Shanks that this wasn't their era. Why else would an otherwise upbeat Shanks have such a negative outlook? Could this expression have any relation to the Child of Destiny moniker that Scopper bestowed upon him? Perhaps Shanks understood that he had to sacrifice his dreams of sailing the sea for Buggy, in order for the betterment of the world of One Piece itself. 2 years after that, Shanks would recruit Yasopp to his crew, which likely means he still decided to start his crew during the years of 1501 and 1502. Sometimes after that, Shanks would receive his eye scar from Blackbeard, perhaps starting his quest against Marshal Z Teach. Once again, off-screen, Blackbeard continues to be the single strongest character in One Piece. Dude, at this point, I wouldn't even be surprised if Blackbeard could off-screen Goku, buddy. Then we reach One Piece 1152 in the year 1510. We hear about Shanks' escapades in the Holy Land of Mary Geoise and his suspicious Mark of the Abyss. This mark hasn't shown up anywhere else in the story except on the God's Knights, not even the Gorosei have it. So either Shanks is one of them, or he just really respected his brother's swag. I mean, it is a cool looking symbol after all. The God's Knights are warriors that operate in the shadows that are even darker than the shadows of the CP0, one of only a handful of characters that even know of Imu's existence. Anyway, Shanks also mentions to Gabon that he had business to discuss with King Harold that was too dangerous to be conversed in the land of the celestial dragons. Side note, if this is the kind of content you're into, deep dive, slander, or nonsense tier list, go ahead and subscribe. So now we're going into Areas 5 speculation. I want to spin back to year 1502 when Shanks began recruiting Yasopp and assumedly other members of the red-haired crew. What this implies to me is that after creating a pirate crew, Shanks decided to try his luck at being a celestial dragon, which would mean that his crew presumably knows the secrets of the world governments, and pirates like Ben Beckman, Lucky Roo, and his monkey friend were chill with their captain leaving to go converse with slave traders. So this must mean that Shanks had a reason to go up to Mary Geoise. I doubt a pirate crew of 1 year would stay loyal if Shanks simply wanted to try his life with his true family and abandon his found one. Because people forget, bro, but those sub 1 year bonds in One Piece, I actually kind of go crazy. I mean, Brook was a ride or die after a solid week. So I don't know if he told him something about this being needed for the overall mission, or if this was the safest option for the crew at this point. Though, all I know is that there had to have been a reason for Shanks to leave. I was originally going to suggest it was to go find plans about the Gomu Gomu no Mi in order to make an easier interception, though Shanks must have left the God's Knights before, as the timeline and his meeting with Gabon wouldn't work. Then I was fortunately able to narrow the timeline down a bit after remembering Film Red. Despite the film not actually being canon, Shanks' story with Yuta, as confirmed by Oda, is. The early events of Shanks meeting Yuta happened in the year 1505, so it has to be either before or after that. Now there I was, stuck between a rock and a hard place once again, with Shanks having either spent his late teens or early 20s with the world government. So to settle this division, I decided to look at early world events. And after scrolling a timeline, I think I found Shanks' motivation, his reason for joining the greatest evil in the One Piece world. And I'm tempted to say that this motivation arose mainly because of one character, Goldie Ace. Ace, the last remnant of Shanks' idol Roger. He just might have taken the position of a holy knight in order to try and find any detail that he possibly could on Ace's whereabouts. After discovering that Ace had been sent to the Queen of the Mountain Bandits, my gal base to dawn, he found the information he needed and gave Imu's 2 weeks. I know some of you may have an issue with 17 some odd Shanks fighting alongside killing him in Summers, but I don't think the World Gov would. In terms of child labor, brother, I'm not gonna sit there and act like it'd be crazy for Imu to hire teenagers to be his guards. I mean, Gunko doesn't look like a day over 23, right? That would be one of the only not evil maniacal things Buddy's ever done. Plus, he's got that royal blood. I don't think that it's too out there. He's not like the Don Quixote family that rejected their royal blood. He was forced out of his. Additionally, the Firgarland family surely carries a lot more clout towards the nobles than most other celestial names. So I'm not surprised they just let Shanks deter from the celestial dragons, as they didn't even kill the Don Quixotes after begging to come back. Plus, I mean, Rob Gucci was out here doing fun-sized god valleys at the age of 13. It really isn't that out there for a 17-year-old Shanks to join the God's Knights. Oh, and the conversation with King Harold likely has something to do with Ace, because that is one of few matters I believe wouldn't stand in Mary Geoise. We're down for literally any crime the human mind can think of, but talking about a D, buddy, you're getting thrown off the red line. The evidence for this is a little rough, but we know we're getting a sympathetic backstory for Harold, and I think he's clearly going to be a good guy betrayed by the baddies. The other option I found could be he waited for Shirahoshi to be born, which isn't that out there, but I think the Ace narrative just fits the overall story of One Piece better. At least to me. During his time back in the crew, Shanks would return to Elbaph and meet with Gabon, just chat it up with him a bit. Then in 1511, the year of our chapter 1, Shanks would steal the Gomu Gomu no Mi and immediately head down to Fuchsia Village. This isn't a coincidence, this is intentional.
Well, hello there, friend. I didn't know there was such a hard-working sheriff here.
Who are you, the boss?
The name's Shanks, and I'm the captain of this ship.
Don't start trouble, or I'm gonna make you pay.
Shanks is one of the biggest brain dudes in the story. He didn't just fall upon the fruit carrying Joy Boy's will. Nah, buddy, this was premeditated. Now, this is where Shanks' plan went wrong, at least in the way he originally planned it. The Gomu Gomu no Mi was meant for Ace. Shanks showed up in Fuchsia Village just a little earlier to when Ace would have showed up. This devil fruit was intended to be given to the son of the king of the pirates, Goldie Ace, though possibly when Shanks heard Luffy's true dream, he understood he was mistaken and decided to spend his time with the grandson of Roger's rival, Monkey D. Luffy.
I'm not kidding around, you hear me? I'm really mad! Watch, I'll bring it to ya!
I don't think it's a coincidence that Shanks more or less left immediately after Luffy ate the fruit. He had done his job, fate had course corrected and given the fruit to the destined one. I mean, Shanks stayed there for a year, basically just a couple of months before Ace would have actually shown up. Then, when the Gum Gum fruit went down Luffy's gullet, Buddy knew it was time to pack it up. At the end of the day, that waiting was worth it, just not quite the way he expected. Shanks saving Luffy from the Lord of the Coast is genuinely one of the most beautiful moments in hindsight. There's just so much to break down after a minor addition in chapter 1152. Like, we really don't give Oda enough credit for how insane this is. That even early moments continue to improve to a point which feels like every arc now. You can read this moment in so many different directions. We got the simple idea of Shanks saving Luffy, and to Luffy this shows how important protecting those who you care about are. Even a swordsman would risk his own arm. Then, from Shanks' perspective, Luffy was literally liberating him from the world government. Like, as soon as he got the fruit, Luffy freed Shanks from what was essentially branding. Then this adds so much more to the line, "I bet it on the future," that he said to Whitebeard. Like, he literally gave his satin sheets living in Peaches and Creamville on a gamble for Luffy. Lastly, from the perspective of the Lord of the Coast, I'm kidding, but the idea that the sea took out the mark of the devil, dude, I'm not gonna lie. In hindsight, this may be my favorite panel in the whole story. And they haven't even had a reunion yet, buddy. This is only gonna get better. 6 years after that, Shanks would enter the New World and beat up Loki. Presumably because he knows Elbaph's importance. I mean, Buddy's made like 3 trips there and back in his lifetime. That is insane. And then we're basically caught up to current year. The only thing that I still don't understand was why Shanks had to pull up to Wano. My only guess would be to see the Gear 5 awakening, because he assumed that this was the time he would awaken it, but honestly, it was probably just Oda forcing it to get the bag and film red, which, fair enough, buddy, we gotta make sure those kids are fed. Then the last thing we've seen of Shanks that I'm interested in is his reaction to Vegapunk's message. That reaction to the Vegapunk message makes me believe he knows the world history. He wasn't shocked, he wasn't confused, he looked like a dude who had already read this part of the story, which lines up with everything, his timing, his moves, his connections, even the fact that he's always 10 steps ahead. Then that's about it. That's how I think the gaps in Shanks' story are filled, and I just wanted to end with this. The Shanks flashback will feed families, and if it is actually connected to Monkey D. Dragon, cinema. So yeah, that's the video. See ya.